Dan Rayfield to break down the bout. Bernard Hopkins avenging his loss 17 years ago to Roy Jones. He did it in typical executioner fashion, but 4 stoppages and some bad sportsmanship. How would you characterize this fight?
I would characterize it as really sort of sad and pathetic, because these are 2 guys who are 2 of the greats of all time. You know, they're both going to be in the Hall of Fame. They both put on tremendous performances in their careers. They both fought, you know, a lot of good fighters. And, you know, it's unfortunate because you think about what may have been, especially between these 2 guys, because they fought once before, and the rematch was talked about for so long as a possibility to happen when they were both in their prime. And it didn't happen for various business reasons and egos of these 2 guys. And finally it did happen. And instead of being a glorious event for the sport of boxing and for both fighters to really prove something by winning, what we had was, you know, sort of, you know, an afterthought, a fight that couldn't muster a major network to produce the telecast. Only barely, not even 7,000 people in the arena, and most of those people had tickets that were either 2-for-1s or giveaways. As an example of a fight that years ago would have been a big time sellout. So, you know, it was sad to see, and neither guy really showed a lot. Bernard showed more, but that's not saying much because Jones showed absolutely nothing. And let me tell you guys. They took Roy Jones to the hospital to get examined, and Bernard Hopkins collapsed in the dressing room after the fight, and it was taken to the hospital for precautionary reasons as well.
Wow. These guys are combined 86 years old now. You mentioned how old they are. Well, Bernard Hopkins actually came out to a customized live performance of Frank Sinatra's My Way as he entered the ring. The final line of the song, the record shows he throws the blows, and he did it his way. He's 45. He's won 3 straight. What will the record show when he hangs up the gloves?
Oh, you know, listen, whatever happened tonight was not going to really have anything to do with Bernard's legacy, ultimately, unless perhaps he had suffered a bad loss to Roy. But Bernard Hopkins sealed his legacy long ago. He's one of the greatest fighters of all time, maybe one of the top 2 or 3 middleweights in the history of boxing. He has the record for defenses in the middleweight division at 20, moved up in weight, won the light heavyweight championship, and, you know, beat a lot of good fighters along the way, and has been one of the best pound-for-pound fighters for, you know, the past, 10 or 12 years. And, you know, by winning the fight tonight, in his mind, he clears the deal from what happened in '93 when he first met Roy Jones for a vacant middleweight title and lost a very clear decision. He went on to get much better in his career after that, and you know, had wanted this rematch for a long time, even though it didn't really mean all that much at this point.
Now, clearly these guys don't like each other. A lot of headbutting, a lot of low blows. What did you think of the way it was fought?
I thought that Roy did what he had to do. I mean, he really had nothing else that he could do. So to throw a few fouls, at least perked it up the crowd a little bit anyway. But, I mean, it's a very dangerous situation when you hit a man behind the head the way he did. 2 blatant shots, a right hand in one round and a left hand in the other round against Hopkins. And that was the reason why Hopkins said afterwards that he had seen 4 from the 6th round on spots and ultimately caused him to collapse in the dressing room after the fight. So, you know, Bernard, because of those 2 terrible fouls, you know, really took the worst of it, I guess, and is, you know, in the hospital right now, and hopefully he'll be okay.
Now, on the other side, 2nd straight loss for Roy Jones. He was the pound-for-pound best for a long time, but now a first-round KO to Danny Green. And this, how much longer is Jones going to fight?
Well, I mean, he should have retired, you know, probably 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. You know, he said after the fight that he would go and talk to his team, and it'll be a team decision about what he would do. But I think that Roy Jones, I mean, at this point, let's be serious here. This man was a great fighter. He is just a absolute shell of what he once was. Now, Hopkins can still fight a little bit. I mean, even though he's 45, he may not be what he was. But Roy Jones, you know, we're getting in danger time here. I mean, he really needs to call it a day. You know, it's going to be up to the medical commissions if they pass him in his medicals, and up to him if he decides he wants to do it. But as somebody like myself that has chronicled his career for the past decade, has covered many of his fights, knows Roy pretty well, you know, I would like to see him retire.
You say Hopkins can still fight, but at 45, what more does he have to prove?
Well, unfortunately, Bernard has the delusional notion that he can go up to heavyweight and challenge David Haye for his title. David Haye, of course, over in England today, knocked out John Ruiz, who happened to be the fighter that Roy Jones beat several years ago to win the heavyweight belt. David Haye is a prime, strong, big, power-punching guy. And to see Bernard Hopkins at 45 move up to heavyweight and try to go for that title would be a scary situation. Now, it's a conceivable fight because they happen to both be promoted by the same company, so it may be possible. But I don't know if that's going to be realistic.
With these guys,
I sure hope it's not.
With these guys fighting at 41, 45, I mean, how much longer can guys fight, and should they even be allowed to do this?
Well, listen, it's not up to me to decide if they are allowed to. That's up to the medical commissions. But I think that, you know, it gets to the point where if you want to continue to live a nice life after boxing, that you really need to take a look at the tape and see exactly what happened. Because, I mean, let's be serious. These guys are not what they were, and every time they get in the ring, you got dangerous situations. Bernard Hopkins, like I said, even though it was from fouls, he's in the hospital right now. Who knows? So why risk that? He's got a beautiful daughter. He's got a wife. He's got millions and millions of dollars. He's already got the legacy of one of the greats of all time. Roy Jones has kids, has money, has a great legacy. I mean, at this point, what is the point of doing this again? I mean, they can't even get the people to turn out to watch the fight. There was, like I said, not even 7,000 people here in an arena that holds more than 10,000, and a lot of those were giveaways. So you tell me.
All right, Dan Rafael, appreciate your time. Now you got a story to get to press. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN News.
Anytime. Thank you.